Unfiltered stories, unapologetic truth, unmistakably brave.
Hello and welcome to the Brave as Fuck podcast. My name is Jessica and I am your host. I'm excited, I'm honored, I am humbled that you are here today. If this is your first time to the show, welcome. Take a listen, poke around. If you like what you hear, make sure you hit subscribe wherever it is you listen to your podcast. All right, y'all. So listen up. Last week I did a really quick episode. Basically, it was a check-in of sorts, right? Letting you know kind of what I got going on and, an apology for being inconsistent, not posting as often as I wanted, yada, yada, whatever. Here we are, right? So even though I haven't been in the studio in the last several weeks and haven't been able to put any episodes out or put them together, I've had a lot of aha moments. And so it's interesting because there's all these things kind of roaming around in my mind that I want to talk about. And I'm not entirely sure which direction I want to go first or what I want to dive into first. Because, that's how I roll, right? Completely improv. I don't necessarily have an agenda. Probably should get better at that, but, I wouldn't count on it anytime soon. Anyway, so last week I had the privilege of going to the beach for a few days with family and friends. And we, spent 4 days out of town. Much needed vacation, like so needed, right? And I went into this trip with a couple of goals, right? First and foremost, I'm taking some time off of work because I needed it, right? I'm taking time away from, the home life and all of my adulting responsibilities, right? From parenting, all of that. I needed to get away, change my environment. Y'all know how I feel about the beach. It's my fucking happy place, that in the mountains, right? Like, get me out there in the wild, all right? So I go and I'm excited about going to the beach, and I made an intentional decision that I was going to carve out some time for me to sit in solitude. Now, the reason I say it like that is because I was going with a group of, I think there was 12 of us, right? So solitude probably wasn't, it wasn't a given. I knew that I would have to carve some of that time out. I would have to, separate myself for a bit. And I wanted to do that because I needed to isolate myself in a way that I could truly start to remove all of the distractions, not just of the folks that are with me, but all the shit going on, up here, right? All of the things I was ruminating on, all of the things I was thinking about that I needed to get done, all the things I was anxious about, worried about, just trying to remember in general, because hello, menopause, fucking hell, I can't remember why I walked in the room. So I feel like I'm constantly repeating my to-do list, mentally, just going through it because I'm terrified I'm going to forget even the most basic of things. And I do often, right? So anyways, I knew that I was going to set this time aside because I wanted to get quiet. And when I say get quiet, I mean get quiet in a way that I can think about things a little bit deeper than don't forget to, pick up more eggs, or don't forget to pay that bill, or don't forget whatever, just to sit and reflect on where I am in life, what I'm doing, what I want to do. Am I happy with what I'm doing? If I'm not, what do I need to change? What's out of alignment? How am I? Literally, that's the question. Just how are you? Ask that of yourself sometime. Just literally sit down and say it out loud. Trust me on this, right? Just say it out loud and be like, how are you? No, really. How are you? And I wanted to sit with that and think, because I feel like I'm in this season of change, right? The season of growth and transition. And I mentioned a little bit on last week's call, which was short and brief, and it was basically a quick check-in. But I talked about, at the Vision Board Workshop, there's a lot of us that are in this season of we're transitioning into something different, and we don't necessarily know what it entails, right? We don't have the details figured out, perhaps. We don't know the steps that we need to take because we don't entirely know where we're going, but we know it's away from where we're at, right? We know that it is filled with more purpose. and things that matter, and a whole lot less of the noise and the shit that don't. We know that we want more peace, less chaos. We know that we want more love, less drama. We know that we want more purpose and meaning to what we're doing, and doing things that matter and removing the things that don't. And there's a lot of us in that season, and I imagine it's fairly normal at this age. It's probably been identified as a midlife crisis to a lot of folks. I get it, because sometimes those transitions are so fucking drastic from who we were before that people think we've just lost our damn minds. But honestly, I think it's us finding our minds. It's us finding ourselves. It's us standing up and speaking up and voicing what it is we really want and who we really are, and having zero fucks for anybody that doesn't like it. Like, there's definitely this period where it's just different. They say you hit a lot of that in your 40s. I definitely felt it when I turned 40, and I think 41 and 42, it became even more obvious. And now at 46, almost 47, oh my God. I'm telling you, I have very few fucks to give people when they're just throwing out opinions, that they don't have a direct correlation or impact on, my life. Your input isn't necessarily the most valuable thing that's come my way. So anyways, where I'm going with that is, so it may sound like a midlife crisis, but I think it's really just a awakening, for lack of a better term, right now. So anyways, I decided I was going to set this time aside, carve it out, sit with myself, dig deep, because I hadn't had that time in a really long time. I've got a lot of noise and chaos at home, right? A lot of things going on, a lot of balls in the air. And so that limits my ability to just sit quiet. But I sat on the beach and I got out there one morning. Now, let me preface this before I jump too much into what happened on the beach, okay? I chose to order a book that, interestingly enough, I had heard about. Let's see, she wrote it 2 years ago, okay? I heard about it 2 years ago when it first came out. I remember when she put it out there. And I thought, I need to read that book. Just the title alone spoke to me. I know her very well. She's actually going to be on the show, y'all. So I'm not going to talk too much about the book today, because we're going to talk about it with her, with the author, right? But this book has been on my radar for a while. Anyway, I decided to order it, and it arrived the day before I went to the beach. And I thought, perfect. I'm going to just throw that in the beach bag. And I knew that regardless of what was in the book, meaning the details of each page and what it consisted of, the general idea was something that would resonate with me. And I knew that it would help me guide my thinking and my thoughts in the direction in which I was reflecting, in the way that I wanted to go, in the direction I wanted to head, right? So anyways, I grabbed this book and I take it to the beach and I sit down, and y'all, I shit you not, 3 pages in, 4 pages in, I've got tears. Now, I know some of y'all know me pretty well, and I tend to tear up when we get talking about growth and mindset and amazingness. And, every other movie. I may cry a lot. Tears flow pretty easy. Shit, if I eat a spicy taco, tears flow down my face. So that in and of itself isn't impressive. But what I'm saying is that by page, 4, I was fucking in it. It had me hooked. And I was like, oh, damn, this is going to be good. Y'all, I proceeded to read the entire book in one setting on that single day, sitting out on the beach. So needless to say, I isolated myself for a bit. But just to be clear, I was not antisocial, and I did, hang out with the other 11 people that were with us, right? We had a great time. But I sat there out on the beach, and I am certain that the people that were sitting on either side of me off in the distance, people I didn't know, not the group I was with, probably looked over and they're like, what the fuck is her problem? Like, did she just lose, her dog? What's going on? She's having, some sort of mental breakdown. I mean, kind of. I was breaking down. I was breaking through. I was breaking down the shit and the walls that I had been, allowing to build up over time, because I just wasn't able to address the crap that was going on up here. Anyway, so the book, let me start with that. Trust Your Magic. All right. It's by Carol Elizabeth. Again, I'm not going to go too far into the book today because I want to talk about it with her on the show, and she's coming. We already talked about it. So super fucking stoked about that. But anyway, so I'm reading this book, 4 pages in. I'm like, holy hell, this is amazing. And I'm getting, I'm going through it. And then I get to this chapter. Again, I don't want to give too much away today because this shit is good. You need to get this book. Okay. A couple of reasons. Let me go back a little bit. Regardless of where you are in your own journey of personal development and growth, right? Like if you have never really explored it very much, you will get something totally different from this book than someone like myself who is fairly experienced in personal growth and development, okay? You may read some of this and go, okay, that's a lot of woo-woo, or what the hell? That's fine. I would expect that reaction from you because it's a new concept and you've got to rewire your thinking and patterns and all that stuff. So that's completely normal. Even still though, you would find a lot of value in this book because it's going to present you with new ideas, new concepts, a new way of thinking. And there are things that will click even as a newbie. All right. But as someone who has a lot of experience with these concepts, I'm not reading it for what is this or how does that work? Or when you read a book like this, you're not going, oh, I didn't know that. You read it and you're like, holy fucking hell. Yeah. And it hits. It's like validation after validation after validation, right? So you're sitting there and these things that you know subconsciously, these things that you believe, you're reinforcing all of it with a person's story, and it's relatable, and you walk away feeling just this energy and this invigoration that I can't really put it into words, y'all. You just need to read the book, okay? But what I'm telling you is that it's a fucking game changer. And this is why I'm continuously reading, you guys. Like, I get this question a lot. They're like, how many fucking self-help books do you need? All of them, theoretically, right? Like the ones that are done well. Because here's the thing. You don't learn something or master something the first time you see it or hear it, right? I think they say the average is 13 times you need to hear something before it like truly sticks in your core memory kind of thing, right? You need to read things multiple times. You need to see them, and then you need to see them being applied, and then you need to apply them yourself. It's a process of mastering these beliefs, patterns, this knowledge, right? And it takes time, and it takes the willingness to unlearn some of the other shit that you had been programmed to believe or not believe, whatever it may be. So anyways, I get this book and I'm reading it and I'm just having, all these aha moments just over and over and over. And I'm just like, holy fucking hell. Like I could have written this book in a lot of ways. But I get to this chapter. And again, I'm not going to tell you a whole lot of details about the book today because I want to talk about it with her on the show, because how fucking cool would that be? But there's a chapter called The Stick Trick. And in summary, it talks about, imagining or visualizing every area of your life as a stick, right? So like your finances is a stick, your career's a stick, your relationships are a stick. And all of the sticks are in a pile, crisscrossed and meshed, and they're just in this one big pile. And she's talking about the power that we have to shift our energy, right? And when one area of your life is not going as planned or is not at a high energy, it's not operating at that level, or there's things that are just, in disarray or whatnot, you have the choice and the ability to shift your focus or pick up a different stick to raise your energy back up, get you back to where you need to be from a belief system and confidence and all of that, so that you can go back and address the other area that needs to be brought to the same level, essentially. Now, there's a whole lot more to this. Again, I want you to read the fucking book. But as I'm reading this chapter, I look up and I shit you not, and I've got pictures of this. I'm going to post it. I shit you not. There is a pile of sticks that had washed ashore that were literally sitting right the fuck in front of my feet. I look up and I'm like, holy hell. Oh, like, Jessica, you need to grasp this. This is your lesson right now that you need to receive. This is what needs to stick. No pun intended. This is what needs to stick right now for you. This is what you need to grasp, because here's the thing. What a lot of us do, human nature does this, I think, a lot until we reprogram ourselves, right? When one area is faltering or falling apart, or again, just not going according to the plan we would like, or our timeline, and it's causing confusion or chaos, or poor energy. Human nature says, I am going to focus all of my energy on that which is going wrong. And I'm going to gravitate to that. I'm going to hold on to that. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, this is falling apart. Everything's falling apart. Nothing ever works for me. Nothing ever, as easy as it could be. Yada, 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 whatever, right? Like we go down this cycle. Human nature. We gravitate towards the negative unless we have programmed ourselves not to. So as you've got these sticks, I literally took this pile of sticks and I started to pull it apart, and I made like a straight row of it, right? Like, here's relationships, here's, my career, here's finances, here's my dreams, here's whatever. And the longest stick in the middle, I named that my belief. That's my faith. And in my mind, as I'm looking at these, I'm realizing that is the stick I need to protect the most, and it needs to stay centered. It needs to stay right in the center of everything else. It needs to be the beacon, and it's the thing I need to keep the fullest, the longest, the most healthy, whatever. Like, I need to protect that at all costs so that everything else around it can follow suit, okay? So, again, when shit goes wrong, it's really easy for us to focus on it. What do? We say, oh, I need to go get something to drink because I've had a shit day, right? And we look for someone to sit and vent to, right? We talk about what went wrong. Now, I'm not saying you can't talk about what went wrong. I'm not saying there isn't a time and a place for maybe a portion of a vent. But there's a vast difference between saying it to release it and moving on from it, and dwelling on it, sitting with it, holding it close, sleeping with it, right? There's a difference between using that as your single source of evidence of your worth, or how everything else in your life is working, or is clearly going to work. It's all going to fall apart because this one thing fell apart. You see what I'm saying? Like, you have to train yourself to shift your focus, break the spiral, if you will. You have to make a decision to change your state. I believe it was Tony Robbins that said, if you change your state, you change your story. That was on a dry erase board in my office for fucking years. And it stuck with me because it's true. You change your mood, you change your mindset, you change your belief on whatever circumstance you're in, you completely change the dynamic and the direction. You can turn your fucking ship around, right? So these sticks, they're all out on the ground. I'm looking at them. I'm like, oh my God, like, I need to do a better job at not holding on to the broken stick as representation of every other area of my life, as that's the single marker that tells me if I'm okay, if I'm worthy, if I'm doing well, if I'm successful, if I'm anything. All it says to me, or should say to me, is that area of my life needs some work. But everything else is still good. It's still intact, right? It's still doing what it needs to do. And I'm not saying they're all perfect and they don't need work too, but you hear what I'm saying on this, right? Like, you have the opportunity and you have the ability to completely change your energy level by what you decide to focus on. And if you're constantly and consistently focusing on the broken sticks, the things that aren't where they need to be at that point in time, your other shit's gonna fall apart. So I don't know if this makes sense to anybody. Maybe I'm just rambling. That wouldn't be new. What I'm saying to you is I read this book, literally front to cover, at the beach. And I was blown away by how much hit home for me. But y'all, there's just been so much lately going on. And I feel like I've almost been at war in my mind, right? It's like this battle between my old identity and I'll say my new identity, but I don't even know that it's new. I think it's my true identity. It's who I've always been meant to be, right? As I get more and more comfortable with myself and I develop the ability to tap into my soul and what it is I'm meant to do and my purpose, the more that I move towards those things, the further I move away from all of the things I was doing instead, all of the versions of myself that either I had become on my own, that I had tried to be in order to avoid this other person, or who other people had told me I should be. Does that make sense? So like, as I'm moving towards who I'm supposed to be and acting fully in alignment with that, there's this other person that I have to let go. And I'll be honest with you, this hit me again while I was sitting on the beach. I was sitting there and I literally walked out to the ocean, y'all, and oh my God, I bawled. I didn't just tears. I mean, like a purging almost, just washing away the facade, washing away this persona of who I had pretended to be for so long, who I had tried to be for so long. Just this shedding of stories and bullshit and lies and trauma, and y'all, like, it was a fucking thing. Again, if you were on either side of me at the beach, they were like, this woman's having a fucking breakdown in the middle of the goddamn ocean. Just for the record, I wasn't in the middle of the ocean because I'm scared to death of drowning. That's the story for another day. But I was in the water, and that's a lot for me. Anyways, I was standing in the ocean, and I just felt like all of this shit that I had been carrying was being washed away. And I felt vulnerable, I felt exposed, but I also felt relief and liberated and freedom. And all I could think at that moment was, I can't go back to who I was before this moment. I can't pretend anymore. I can't and I won't try to be somebody I am not. And y'all, it means a lot of shit is about to change over here. And I can't divulge into all of that. But what I'm saying is that a lot of you know that feeling of there is something more out there. There is something I'm supposed to be doing. I'm missing the mark somewhere. You might even feel close to it. You feel like you're on the edge of it. Hell, maybe you've identified what you're supposed to do and you're just literally staring at it off of a cliff, terrified to jump, terrified to take that step and to walk into that next season. You're terrified of an identity shift where you are like, this is not who I am. This is not who I am meant to be. I was never supposed to be in some cases, right? And that transition from that person to the new person, y'all, it can be tough because there's a disconnect in your belief system, maybe your pattern, your behaviors, your internal dialogue, your voice. There's things that you have to reprogram and look at differently and change your perspective and learn how to respond to differently. Like, oh my gosh, y'all, there's just so much to this. There's so much to it. But anyway, I'm going to leave you with that for now. Hopefully you got some things from that. Maybe I've at least intrigued you because we're going to talk more about this. Brave as Fuck coaching, y'all. I mentioned it on the last call. If you missed it, we've got a lot of things in the pipeline and I'm stoked about it. I really am. And I'm super excited to see where this goes. But anyways, today's ramble brought to you by my beach trip last week. And hopefully you were able to stick with me a little bit. If not, we'll revisit a lot of different parts of this conversation. But I want to encourage you a couple of things today, right? Number one, if you are in a season of transition and you don't yet know where you are going to, but you know you're not supposed to be where you are, I want you to know you're not alone, okay? You don't have to have it all figured out in order to start moving in the direction that you need and feel called to go, okay? So that's the first thing. Second thing, I want to encourage you. I do this a lot, and I want to say it again. Find some fucking time to sit by yourself in nature, away from distractions. Put down the phone, okay? Put down the phone. Tell somebody where you're at if you're too far into the woods. You don't have to be crazy, but go sit somewhere. And I want you to think about things. And all of the surface level things that pop in your mind first, think about them and then push them out and then sit some more. And then when you start to think about what you think you're supposed to think about, get through that list, push it aside, and think some more. I want you to sit there and sit there and sit there until you start reflecting on, life as a whole. And I want you to ask yourself, how are you really? And I want you to be honest when you answer it. Because here's the thing, y'all. If you're not honest with yourself, nothing else matters. You're just playing a game and you're spinning your wheels and you're wasting your fucking time, if I'm being honest. Get it? Honest. You got to be honest with yourself and others. It's non-negotiable if you want to live a brave as fuck life, okay? So those are the things I want to encourage you to do this week. Pick up this book. Again, Trust Your Magic by Carol Elizabeth. We're going to talk more about it when she's on the show, so stay tuned for that. That's what I got for y'all this week. I hope you are doing well, and do me a favor and go live your life brave as fuck. Talk to you soon.